Hello, so I just wanted to share this transmission that has been coming through me since Monday, and I communed really deeply, really profoundly with the earth on Monday, and I was like connecting in with all of these different grids and all of these different energies, and something I had been receiving for a while since the sort of Pluto and Aquarius transit has really begun. The new earth grids are so much easier to feel into, like the sort of information you can receive from them is just so clear. And so it's probably since around that time I've been receiving all this stuff around the sort of human grids around race dissolving. Obviously we have these very unscientific actually categorizations around race, which no longer serve us if they ever truly did, and really where these herald from is from a time in our human history where there were different forms of humans walking the earth, and so it was much more kind of justifiable to have the notion of race in that sense, in terms of, it's kind of like if you think of like Lord of the Rings or something with like elves and dwarves and kind of hobbit like beings. That was much more relevant in that time. But now obviously there's very little biologically which actually separates us as human beings, and so our journey into our more spirit-like form, our reconnection with spirit when after coming out of this dark age, is really more about our blood and etherizing or spiritualizing our blood. And there's so much great information out there from like Rudolf Steiner and amazing psychics that have really channeled this work. And so this idea of race is sort of arbitrary and quite useless, and those grids have been kind of holding people into these certain ancestral contracts and belief systems, and it's passed down from one generation to another. And what we're really seeing is these grids really starting to dissolve. And I remember walking along the street and I could feel these grids like dissolving, and I was like, whoa, I was like, okay, this is really rapidly accelerating this dissolution of those grids around race that we have held for so long. And along with that, the land is also going through this, like, it's her who's like helping to dissolve those. And when I sat in communion with the land that I'm on, which is the British Isles, it's Scotland, whatever you want to call it, right? This is the whole point of the transmission, is that she doesn't see those borders of Scotland, of Wales, of England. Obviously Ireland and Britain are separated by sea, and they're very much like what I was receiving was like they're like two sisters. And this piece of land that we're on with sort of Scotland, Wales, England, it's like those borders are not real. She does not, the spirit of the land does not see those borders. And the sadness that I felt from her, it's like the land itself is purging, she is releasing so much, and I was just crying like the land was like crying through me. It was like we were sharing this really deep ancient sadness for the people, for the way that we have existed in such forms of separation for so long that are really only coming through our mind and these ideological frameworks that we create. And she was sharing that it was, this is dissolving, this is all falling away. And so where we're holding these nationalistic identities of I'm Scottish, I'm English, I'm Welsh, those are dissolving in a really profound way. And it's like she's extending this like invitation of like, you know, I'm inviting you to release this. I'm inviting you to stand with me, you know, on this earth, and release this with me. Help me to release this, because it's going to release anyway. But we can be channels for that. We can be vessels and valves for that release to take place. And obviously I know not everybody I connect with through this medium is in the UK. And so if you are somewhere else, then, you know, try, you know, whatever, if you feel called to like come into communion with the land that you are on, because likely there will be some similar messages coming through. And if you are on the same piece of land as me, then also something that was coming through really strongly was around the Welsh dragons. And it's funny because I realized after I'd received this transmission that Wales, the flag of Wales, is actually a dragon. And there's these like deep ancient like dragon beings that exist in that part of the what we might call Wales, right? And it's like I could just see them like awakening from this slumber, from this stasis. And dragons are very associated with the feminine, with like these really rich feminine codes. And it's like as they are awakening, they're just sharing this these frequencies of like this ancient feminine wisdom, these like secrets that they've held of the feminine mysteries. And so you can really tune in and call them in and connect with them if you feel called. And I really feel over the next kind of few years that's gonna come far more into prominence within the collective psyche. And I feel like that was mainly what I wanted to share. Just trying to see if there was anything else. Yeah, I think that's it. And yeah, I think just, it's like if you feel called, just, you know, to come into that sense of, oh, that was it. That was the other thing I wanted to say. If you feel called to like come into that sense of communion with the land, it's like she is really speaking loudly at the moment. And this was something that I had shared on my Instagram, that she's really calling people to where they need to be. I'm going to be moving. I'm feeling lots of people moving at the moment. And this might not be like moving country, or, you know, it might be, but it might not be. But she's really, the earth as a whole is like, you need to be over here. You need to be over here. And, you know, if you feel this call to a specific land, it's because it is calling you. I think we often think that we make the decisions around where we live. That's very not often the case. The land claims you. The land says, this one is mine. Not as possessively as I've just humanly described it, but, you know, that is essentially what it is that your energies, your coding, your past lives, your ancestral history, you know, a myriad of a million different things is why you will be called to be in a certain place. And so if you have that nudge of like, I just feel like I'm not in the right place, you probably aren't. And now is really, as those kind of grids and everything are dissolving, now is where those new earth templates are really coming forward, and they're pulling people, they're magnetizing people to where it is they need to be. So thank you for watching. Thank you for receiving this transmission, and take care.